Hello, sleepy cuties. Where are you watching from tonight? Are you tucked into your bed, curled up warm under a blanket? Or maybe just lying down, letting your eyes grow heavy? Wherever you are safe, and this is your time to drift away into dreams. We're about to take a little midnight hike together, with some friends, beneath a pale and watchful moon. So take a deep breath, let it out slowly, and let the story begin. The moon was high, a pale silver coin resting in the sky, its light spilling softly through branches that seemed to reach for one another like fingers. The air carried the cool scent of pine needles and damp earth, and every step pressed gently into the blanket of fallen leaves. Finn adjusted his backpack and glanced at the others. It feels different tonight, like the forest knows we're here. Jake stretched his legs with a quiet groan, his body rippling as it lengthened and then snapped back into place. Yeah, the ground's too soft. Kinda feels like it's breathing under my feet. Princess Bubblegum lifted her lantern higher, the pink glow painting the trees with a strange, rosy light. "It's just the damp soil," she said calmly, though her voice was softer than usual. "The forest is alive, yes, but not like that." BMO bounced a little on Finn's shoulder, humming faintly. March, march, midnight march, footsteps light in the silver dark. Their song was barely louder than the rustle of the wind. The friends followed the narrow trail deeper. The laughter they'd shared at the start of the hike had already grown quiet, tucked away like a secret. Now each sound seemed to belong more to the forest than to them, their steps, their voices, their breath. A faint mist began to stir along the ground. At first it was thin, a silver sheen over the roots and stones, but the deeper they went, the thicker it became, curling around their ankles like cool ribbons. Finn stopped, tilting his head. "Do you feel that? The air's heavier here." Jake's ears twitched as he sniffed. "It's damp, thick, like the forest doesn't want us to leave." Bubblegum lowered the lantern, watching as the mist bent around it. The glow shimmered through the fog, stretching shadows into strange shapes that didn't quite match their own. "Maybe it's just night playing tricks," she whispered, though her eyes lingered on the ground longer than usual. The group reached a small clearing where the moonlight poured like silver water across the grass. It was beautiful, dreamlike, yet the quiet was so complete it pressed into their chests. An owl turned its head high in the branches, its eyes glinting, unblinking. It didn't hoot, it didn't move, it only watched. Far off, a single crunch of leaves echoed. The friends froze. No breeze followed. No animal darted away. The sound hung in the air and then faded back into silence. "Maybe another hiker?" BMO asked, tilting their head. "No one else hikes at midnight," Finn murmured, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. Jake shook his head. "I don't like this. Feels like someone's walking with us, but just behind." The mist thickened as they pressed onward, swallowing the trail until it barely existed at all. The trees closed in, their branches weaving above like a ceiling, cutting away pieces of the sky. Bubblegum slowed, her lantern trembling slightly in her hand. "Do you see that?" she whispered. The others followed her gaze. For a moment, in the fog, a figure seemed to stand between the trees. Tall still, its shape shifting in the pale haze. But when Finn blinked, it was gone. "Nothing there," Jake said quickly, too quickly. He turned his eyes forward again, ears pinned back. The friends walked in silence after that, the forest pressing closer, the mist following with every step. The path behind them had already vanished, as though the fog had swallowed it whole. Jake glanced back once more, but there was nothing. Only silver mist and the faint outline of the owl still watching from above. "Guess we keep going," he muttered, though his voice was lower now. And so they did. One step after another, deeper into the waiting woods, their laughter already forgotten, replaced by the heavy hush of a forest that seemed to breathe all around them. The night had only just begun. The mist deepened until the trail was barely visible. Roots curled like black veins across the ground, and every step felt softer, stranger, as though the earth itself shifted beneath their feet. Finn held his lantern higher, its glow flickering faintly in the fog. Where's the path?" he asked, squinting into the pale light. Jake stretched his body forward, slinking low like a hound sniffing for a trail. His long form rippled through the fog. After a moment, he shook his head. "It's gone. Just gone." Princess Bubblegum tapped the side of her lantern as if to steady it. "That's impossible. We followed a marked path. Trails don't just vanish." BMO hummed, though their usual cheer was muted now. "Maybe the forest moved the trail. Maybe it wanted a secret path instead." No one laughed. They pressed forward slowly. The fog curled around their ankles, then their knees, rising until the lantern glow barely stretched beyond arm's reach. Every tree looked the same, dark trunks, twisting branches, their tops hidden in the blur of mist. Finn brushed a branch aside. "Feels like we've been walking in circles." Jake stopped suddenly. "We have. Look." At their feet, half covered by moss, lay a broken wooden signpost. Its words were unreadable, weather-worn and split down the middle. Finn crouched and brushed away dirt. It was the very same sign they had passed an hour ago when the trail first bent toward the clearing. But there was no clearing now, only fog. Princess Bubblegum's voice was calm, but her hands tightened on the lantern. "The forest is folding around us." Jake's tail twitched nervously. "That's not supposed to happen. Forests don't move." "Some do," Bubblegum whispered, almost too soft for the others to hear. The friends stood still for a moment, listening. The silence pressed heavier than before, like a thick blanket drawn over them. Then crunch. The sound came again, leaves snapping underfoot. Not theirs, not close, but not far either. Finn raised his lantern toward the sound. The fog shifted. A tall, thin shadow flickered just beyond the light, moving between the trees. "Did you see that?" Jake hissed, his ears flat against his head. Finn nodded, his grip tightening on the lantern. "Yeah." They waited, frozen, hearts beating against the silence. But the shadow was gone. The mist thickened, pulling tighter. Even their own shapes blurred around the edges. BMO's voice wavered. "What if the forest is lonely? What if it just wants us to stay forever?" Nobody answered. Instead, they kept walking, slower now, each step careful. The ground beneath them dipped lower, the trees bending closer together. The air grew damper, cooler, heavy with the smell of wet leaves. Then through the fog, the faint outline of stones appeared, an old fire circle, charred black, with logs arranged around it. But the fire was still glowing, a dull red warmth, as if it had been burning only moments ago. Jake's voice was barely a whisper. "Someone else is here." Finn crouched closer, brushing ash with his hand. The heat pulsed against his skin, yet no one was there. The friends gathered around, watching as the embers dimmed, shrinking slowly until only faint smoke drifted upward, swallowed by the mist. And then they heard it. A laugh, soft, high, distant. It flickered between the trees like a ripple in the fog. Bubblegum stiffened. That wasn't any of us. Finn stood, the lantern trembling faintly in his grip. His eyes darted into the dark, but there was nothing. Only shifting mist, endless and quiet. The laugh came again, closer this time. Then it was gone, as though swallowed whole. The friends looked at one another and, without a word, began walking again. But now every step felt heavier. Every shadow stretched longer, and the trail that should have led them forward had vanished completely, leaving only mist and the faint memory of footsteps behind them. They were not alone, and the hike was far from over. The fog pressed thicker now, swallowing the space between the trees until the forest seemed to close in like a tightening fist. Every step the friends took sank into the damp ground, soft and muffled, as if the earth wanted to keep their footsteps quiet. Finn's lantern cast a pale circle around them, but beyond it there was nothing, only shadows bending and the shifting blur of mist. Jake's voice was low. Feels like we're walking inside a dream, one of those you can't wake up from. BMO blinked, their small screen flickering faintly. Dreams aren't supposed to have this much fog. Bubblegum raised her lantern higher. The soft pink glow stretched against the mist, making the trees look even taller, their bark twisting like faces frozen in silence. "Stay close," she murmured. "Don't drift away from the light." The friends huddled tighter together as they walked. The silence of the woods grew heavier, until it wasn't silent at all. A whisper slid through the fog, faint, stretched and broken, like a voice carried on a dying wind. Jake froze. His ears perked, then flattened. "Did you hear that?" The others nodded slowly. It came again. Words maybe, but too quiet to understand. The sound moved, first to their left, then behind, then ahead, as if the forest itself were speaking. Finn tightened his grip on the lantern. "Who's there?" His voice was steady, but his hand shook just slightly. No reply. Only another faint whisper curling between the branches. Bubblegum's eyes narrowed. "It's not language, it's echoes. Something is repeating us." The whisper rose again, this time unmistakable. It was Finn's own voice, soft, hollow, repeating his words back. "Who's there?" The group froze. Then Jake's voice echoed through the fog, though his mouth never moved. "It's not language," the whisper rasped, brittle and broken. Finn swallowed hard. It's copying us." BMO clutched Finn's shoulder, their small voice trembling. "Maybe the forest doesn't have words of its own, so it borrows ours." Silence again. Only the sound of their breathing. Then a laugh. Low, rasping, carried on the fog, and not a copy. Not one of theirs. The friends stood perfectly still, their lanterns trembling, the light dancing against the mist. Jake muttered, "We need to move." Slowly, carefully, they pressed forward, the whispers trailing them with every step. Sometimes the echoes were exact. Sometimes they were wrong, words they had never spoken. Words that didn't belong to them. Closer. Stay. Forever. Bubblegum tightened her grip on her lantern. "Don't listen," she whispered. "If it wants us to stop, we don't stop." The fog grew colder, biting at their skin. Their breaths came out in pale clouds, merging with the mist. Up ahead, the faint glow of something shimmered, a shape between the trees. Lanterns, dozens of them, swaying gently in the distance. Finn's eyes widened. "Do you see that?" The others nodded. The lights bobbed in the fog like a silent procession, moving deeper into the woods. Without speaking, the friends followed, their own lanterns blending into the glow. But the whispers didn't fade. They grew louder, Voices tangled together, echoing, stretching, whispering words that twisted into songs, into laughter, into cries. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, the lanterns vanished. Only the mist remained. The friends stopped, their hearts pounding in the silence. And in that silence came the whisper again. This time clear. Not theirs. Not human. Welcome. The whisper faded, melting into the fog, but the word it left behind clung to them like frost. Welcome. The friends stood still, their breaths shallow, listening. No more echoes followed. No more laughter. Only silence. Finn's lantern swayed in his hand. It wants us here. Jake shook his head quickly. Nope. Don't like that. Forest voices don't want things. We should have stayed home eating sandwiches. BMO tilted forward on Finn's shoulder, their little screen flickering with static. But maybe it's lonely. Maybe the forest hasn't had friends in a long time. Princess Bubblegum didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed ahead where the fog seemed to thin just slightly. Look. The mist peeled back like a curtain, revealing another clearing, different from before. Dark stone circles sat in the grass, charred black with old fire, ash scattered like gray snowflakes, shifting in the cold breeze. Finn stepped closer, lifting the lantern. The stones were cracked and scorched, their edges sharp and splintered. Jake sniffed. There's no smell, no smoke, but look. At the very center of the circle, a faint glow pulsed, a coal, red and breathing, like a tiny heart refusing to die. Finn crouched. Someone was here. BMO leaned close, their screen reflecting the glow. Maybe they're still here. The words hung heavy in the air. Bubblegum knelt beside the stones, her lantern low. She touched the ground. It was warm. Too warm. She looked at the others. This fire burned recently. Jake frowned. But who leaves a fire burning in the middle of a moving forest? Unless... His ears flattened. Unless they couldn't put it out. The friends stood in silence, eyes on the glowing coal, the shadows of the circle stretching long across the clearing. Then faintly, from somewhere beyond the trees, came a soft crack. A branch snapping. Then another. Steps. Slow, measured. Finn rose quickly, lantern trembling. Someone's there. The sound circled them, first to the left, then to the right. The forest creaked as if bending closer, every tree listening. Jake stretched his arm long and swept through the fog, but caught only emptiness. When his arm snapped back, his voice was tight. Whatever it is, it's not walking like us. Too quiet. The steps stopped. Then, a laugh. Not high and playful this time, but low, crackling like firewood splitting in the flames. It came from inside the campfire circle. The friends spun toward it. The coal at the center glowed brighter, pulsing harder as if feeding on the sound. BMO whispered, "The fire. It's waking up." The glow spread, veins of red light crawling through the ash. Smoke hissed upward, curling into shapes. Faces half-formed, whispering, grinning, stretching before fading. Finn gripped his lantern tighter. "Back up. Don't step inside the circle." The ash stirred as though something moved beneath it, restless. The coal flared, then dimmed, then flared again, as if it were breathing. Jake growled low. "I swear if that thing stands up, I'm out." The ground beneath the stones trembled once, then stilled. Silence. The glow flickered, shrank, and finally dimmed into nothing. The friends stood frozen, waiting. And then, the whisper returned, soft, curling around their ears, slipping from the very trees. Closer. The The friends backed away as one, their lanterns trembling in the dark. The mist thickened again, swallowing the campfire circle until it was gone, like it had never been there at all. Jake's voice broke the silence. We're walking, now. Before this forest, the sides were next. And so they did. Their footsteps heavy, their lanterns swaying, the whispers following. But the forest wasn't finished. Not yet. The fog trailed after them, curling low to the ground, wrapping around their legs like vines that never touched but never let go. Oh, the friends walked in silence, each step measured, their lanterns the only stars in the endless gray. Finn held his light high, his eyes fixed ahead. We've been walking for hours, but the moon hasn't moved. Jake stretched his neck upward, peering through the canopy. The silver glow still hovered in the same place, round and cold, as though time itself had paused. His voice was low. Yeah, Forrest doesn't want the night to end. Princess Bubblegum walked steadily, though her grip on the lantern was tight. If the night never ends, neither does the hike. BMO's screen flickered, a soft glow of static dancing across their face. They whispered, almost to themselves. Forever hike, forever friends, forever lost. The words hung in the mist. No one replied. At last, the trees thinned, and the ground dipped. The sound of water reached their ears, gentle, hushed, as if a stream whispered secrets to the stones. They stepped out onto the edge of a riverbank, where the fog curled across still black water. The surface was so calm, it mirrored the moon perfectly, making it look as though two skies stretched above and below. In the center of the river stood a bridge, an old wooden span, pale with age, its railings broken, its boards crooked, yet it stood firm, reaching from one shore to the other. Finn raised his lantern. The reflection of the bridge shimmered in the water, except the reflection wasn't broken. The reflection was whole, untouched, perfect. Jake frowned, ears twitching. That's not right. BMO leaned forward from Finn's shoulder, peering at the water. Maybe the reflection is what the bridge used to be. Maybe it remembers itself. Princess Bubblegum studied it quietly, her voice flat. Or maybe the water shows what it wants us to see. They stepped closer. The bridge creaked under the wind, though none of them had touched it. Finn set a foot on the first board. It groaned but held. If we don't cross, we're stuck. Jake stretched his arm across the railing. Feels solid. Old, but solid. The group stepped onto the bridge together. Their lanterns swung gently, spilling light across the planks. Halfway across, the air changed. The river, so still before, began to ripple. Small circles spread outward, though no stone had fallen. No breeze had touched the surface. Finn froze. Do you see that? Beneath the ripples, shadows stirred. Figures, long and wavering, as if people stood just below the water, their arms stretched upward but never breaking the surface. Jake's voice was tense. Keep walking. Don't look down. The friends pressed forward, their steps quicker now, the bridge groaning beneath them. The water rippled harder. Faces formed beneath the surface, pale, silent, staring. Their mouths opened as if to speak, but no sound rose. Finn's lantern flickered. Shadows darted along the railing, shapes bending too tall, too thin. Then whispers. Not from the trees this time, but from the water below, soft, bubbling, gurgling voices. Too many at once. Too close. Bubblegum's voice cut through the noise. Don't listen. Just walk. The whispers rose, tangled, pulling at the edges of their thoughts. Words spilled upward like bubbles breaking the surface. Stay. Join us. Belong. BMO covered their ears. No! Don't want to join the water friends. The bridge shook under their feet, boards rattling, nails straining. The figures below pressed closer, their faces inches from the surface, eyes wide, mouths open. Finn shouted, "Run!" The friends rushed forward, the bridge screaming beneath them. Their lanterns swung wildly, lights splashing across the mist. The water churned now, black waves slapping the bridge supports, as if the river itself tried to rise and pull them under. At last, they leapt from the final plank, stumbling onto the far bank. The instant their feet touched solid ground, the river went still. The water smoothed to glass. The whispers silenced. The bridge behind them creaked once more. And then the first board snapped, falling into the black water with a hollow splash. Another followed. Then another. Slowly, one plank at a time, the bridge collapsed into the river, vanishing beneath the still surface, until nothing remained. Finn stared, breathless. If we'd been slower. Jake shook his head. Don't even finish that thought. Bubblegum turned her lantern forward, her voice calm but heavy. The forest isn't letting us go back. The friends stood silently, the mist already curling around them again, hiding the river, the ruins of the bridge, the faces below. The only way left was deeper. And so they stepped into the fog once more. The river and the broken bridge were gone, swallowed by mist as if they had never existed. Only the sound of their own steps remained, soft thuds against damp earth, steady breathing, the faint clink of lantern glass. Finn glanced over his shoulder. Nothing. Only the fog. Still his skin prickled. Feels like we're not alone. Jake stretched his body tall, peering above the mist. His voice was low, uneasy. Been feeling it since the campfire circle. Something's pacing us. Princess Bubblegum kept her lantern steady. The pink light carved a small bubble in the haze, but beyond that, shadows shifted. Don't look for it, she said quietly. If it wants us to see it, it will show itself. BMO clung tighter to Finn's pack straps. I don't like invisible friends. They don't play fair. The group pressed on, but the sensation grew stronger. A presence at their side, not close enough to touch, not far enough to ignore. Every step they took was mirrored, one step behind, one step beside, one step hidden. At first it was just sound, a faint echo of movement, a shuffle of leaves where no one walked. Then came the shadows. On the fog surface, their lantern light stretched tall and long, but sometimes, just for a moment, a fifth shadow flickered. Slender, taller than Finn, moving perfectly in time with theirs. Jake noticed first. His voice was sharp. Don't look down. But Finn had already seen it. The shadow beside his own, stretching, bending, but no figure to cast it. He tightened his grip on the lantern, his heart thumping hard. It's walking with us, BMO whimpered. Tell it to go away. The shadow flickered again. Then again, each time clearer, each time closer. It leaned, stretched, bent unnaturally, its head tilting too far, too slow. Bubblegum finally spoke. Her tone was firm, but her voice quivered just slightly. Don't speak to it. Don't acknowledge it. The moon floated high above the forest, pale and watchful. Its light spilled down in broken beams, catching on pine needles, glimmering across damp moss, and scattering into the fog that swirled low to the ground. Finn adjusted his backpack and squinted ahead. We're still on the path, right? I don't want to end up wandering in circles again. Jake stretched his legs long, each paw pressing gently into the earth. Chill, man. I've got a nose for trails. We're good. Princess Bubblegum lifted her lantern. Its soft glow brushed against the trunks of tall trees, making shadows slide across the ground like moving ink. The trail markers should be here, but I don't see any. BMO perched happily in Finn's pack, humming a tune that drifted into the night air. Marching in the mist, friends are never missed. Marceline hovered lazily above the group, her axe base slung across her back. She smirked faintly. You're all acting like a little fog is some big, creepy deal. The woods are fine, just dark, just quiet. But as they walked further, the fog thickened. What had been a narrow trail, brown dirt pressed into the earth, lined with mossy stones, began to fade. Each step blurred the edges until the ground looked like nothing more than silver haze. Finn slowed. Guys? Where's the path? Jake stretched his body wide, pawing at the mist. It was right here. I swear it was right here. Princess Bubblegum bent low, lantern close to the ground. The soil's damp. Too damp. It's covering the trail. Marceline folded her arms, eyes narrowing. Or the forest doesn't want us to see it. The friends stopped. The silence pressed in, thick, waiting. Not even crickets chirped. Finn swallowed, his voice soft. Feels like the woods are swallowing it. BMO peeked over his shoulder, their screen flickering faintly. Maybe the forest is hungry. Maybe it wants the trail for itself. The mist curled tighter, stretching pale fingers around their ankles. When Finn looked back, the way they had come was already gone. No footprints, no markers, only silver fog rolling endlessly. Jake muttered, Okay, not cool. Paths don't just disappear. Bubblegum straightened, her voice steady but low. Some forests shift. They fold themselves to protect something, or to trap someone. Marceline smirked again, but her eyes flicked across the fog uneasily. Guess that makes us the someone, huh? The group pressed forward, lanterns glowing softly. Each light created its own small island in the mist, but beyond it, the forest seemed endless. Every tree looked the same, tall and black, their branches twisted together like grasping hands. Then a sound. Crunch. The friends froze. Jake's ears perked straight up. That wasn't us. Crunch. Crunch. Slow, careful steps, just out of sight. Finn raised his lantern higher. Who's there? Only mist. Only silence. Then the sound stopped. The group stood close, listening. The fog breathed around them, curling thicker, hiding even the nearest trees. Bubblegum whispered, If we stand still too long, it'll take the path completely. We have to move. So they did. Step by step, deeper into the shifting fog. Their laughter from earlier was gone now. Their voices, when they spoke, were hushed, as though the forest might overhear. And as they walked, the trail beneath them faded further. What was once earth became shadow. What was once a path became nothing at all. The woods had swallowed it whole, and yet they kept walking. The friends pressed deeper into the forest, each step slower than the last. Their lanterns glowed in small, trembling circles, fighting against the endless fog. There was no path beneath them now, only damp earth, half swallowed by moss, and shadows that stretched and shifted in ways they didn't before. Finn's boots squelched in the soil, leaving no prints behind. It's like the ground doesn't remember us walking. Jake's paws patted softly, his body low, stretched long. Ground doesn't forget that fast. Something's covering it. He sniffed the air, but even his nose found nothing but wet mist and pine. Princess Bubblegum walked in the center, her pink lantern steady, her expression calm but sharp. This forest is alive, I can feel it. The fog isn't just weather, it's intentional. Marceline hovered above the group, her eyes glowing faintly red in the dark. Yeah, I've seen this trick before. Some forests whisper to each other, some whisper to travelers. BMO peeked from Finn's pack, their little arms gripping the straps. Their digital face flickered, nervous. I don't want whispers. I want giggles. Giggles are better. And then, as if the forest had heard them, the first whisper rose. It drifted from the trees, soft and broken, like a voice carried on a breath of wind. Say... Finn froze, lantern shaking in his hand. Did you guys hear that? Jake's tail curled in tight. Yeah, definitely not the wind. Another whisper, low and drawn out, from the other side of the pathless woods. Don't go. Bubblegum held her lantern high, her voice steady. Stay close together. Don't answer it. But the whispers grew. They slid between the trees, layered on top of each other. Too many voices to count. Some high, some low, some crackling like static, some soft as sighs. Turn back. Stay with us. Forever. Finn's grip tightened on his lantern. They sound close, like right next to us. Marceline's eyes narrowed, her fangs flashing briefly. That's because they are. They're moving with us. Jake's head whipped around, ears flat. I can't see anyone. Just fog. Just trees. The friends huddled tighter. The lantern light trembled, spilling across the trunks. For a moment, the bark seemed to shift. Dark grooves bending, curling into the shape of mouths, open, whispering. BMO squeezed their eyes shut. Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't listen. The forest shivered. Branches rattled, though no wind blew. Leaves rustled, though nothing touched them. Finn's voice was small now. What do they want? Bubblegum didn't answer at first. She just kept walking, slow and steady, her lantern guiding the others. At last, she said quietly, the forest doesn't want us lost. It wants us claimed. The whispers swelled at her words. Claimed? Ours? Stay. Jake stretched his arm protectively around Finn's shoulders. Nope, 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 not happening. Marceline floated lower, her boots brushing the damp ground. They're trying to scare us into stopping. That's when the woods close in. Finn nodded, swallowing hard. Then we keep moving, no matter what. Step by step, they pressed forward. The whispers rose, curling between them, sometimes in voices that sounded like strangers, sometimes more chillingly, in voices that sounded like their own. Finn, stay here. Jake, don't leave. Bubblegum, forever. Each friend heard their name. Each friend heard themselves called from the dark. Finn's eyes darted through the mist. That sounded like me. Did you guys hear that? That was me. Jake's fur bristled. Yeah, bud. I heard myself, too. Princess Bubblegum tightened her jaw, her voice a whisper. The forest is copying us. Marceline's smirk faltered. That's new. The group moved faster now, feet crunching against roots, lanterns bobbing wildly. But no matter how far they walked, the voices followed. The whispers circled, weaving in and out of the trees, never closer, never farther, always just beside them. And then suddenly, silence. The whispers cut off all at once. The air was still, the trees motionless. BMO opened one eye. Did we win? Jake shook his head, his ears still twitching. No, that's not a good silence. The fog shifted. Ahead of them, the trees leaned closer, their trunks bending, their branches arching. They formed a kind of doorway, a tunnel of shadow leading deeper into the forest. Finn's lantern trembled in his hand. That wasn't here before. Princess Bubblegum stepped forward, her lantern steady. The forest gave us a path again. Marceline floated closer to the dark archway, her voice low. Yeah, but it's not leading out. The friends stood at the threshold, lanterns flickering, the mist curling tighter at their backs. The trail had disappeared once before. Now the forest had given them a new one, and they had no choice but to take it. The archway of trees swallowed the group whole. Their lanterns bobbed like drifting stars as they stepped into the tunnel of branches, the wood creaking softly overhead. The air was thicker here, heavy with damp moss and something else, something sweet, almost metallic, like old fruit left too long in the dark. Finn walked first, his hand tight around the lantern handle. Stay close. Nobody falls behind. Jake stretched himself around Finn and BMO like a long golden scarf, his body looping protectively. Trust me, man. I'm not letting anybody get left out here. Princess Bubblegum's lantern glowed steady behind them. Her voice was low, calculated. If the forest is shaping paths for us, then it's guiding us, which means it has an end in mind. Marceline floated above, her arms crossed, though her red eyes flicked nervously across the twisted wood. Yeah, but whose end? Ours or the forest's? BMO hummed faintly in Finn's pack, their voice small. I don't like doorways. Doorways are where things sneak through. The tunnel stretched long, too long. The light of their lanterns never seemed to reach the end. The ground sloped down, the air colder with every step. Their breath fogged before them, curling into the mist. Then a sudden break. The trees opened. The group stumbled into a wide clearing, a hollow circle surrounded by towering pines. The mist hovered low, clinging to the roots like a silver sea. Finn lowered his lantern. Okay, this is new. Jake's ears perked up. Where's the path? Where's the exit? Princess Bubblegum turned slowly, her lantern sweeping across the clearing. There isn't one. And she was right. The tunnel they had entered through was gone. The trees stood unbroken, sealing the circle tight. Marceline's voice was sharp. I knew it. The forest isn't guiding us. It's trapping us. The group huddled together, their lights flickering against the mist. The clearing was silent. Too silent. Then a lantern went out. Finn gasped as his flame sputtered and died, the glass filling with smoke. Darkness pressed against his side. He relit it quickly, his hand shaking. That wasn't me. Jake's eyes darted. Okay. Nope. Not funny. One by one, the lanterns flickered. They dimmed, brightened, dimmed again, as though unseen fingers brushed against their flames. And then, the clearing spoke. Not with whispers, but with echoes. Finn heard his own voice bouncing through the mist. Stay close. Nobody falls behind. Jake's words followed, drawn out, hollow. Trust me, man. I'm not letting anybody get left out here. Princess Bubblegum's voice came next, stretched thin. It has an end in mind. Marceline's smirk echoed, low and mocking. Whose end? Even BMO's little tune repeated, broken and warped. Marching in the mist, friends are never missed. The echoes overlapped, circling them, louder and louder until it was impossible to tell whose voice was whose. Finn covered his ears. Make it stop. Jake stretched his body around them tighter. It's copying us again, messing with our heads. Princess Bubblegum's eyes narrowed. No, it's not copying. It's separating. And she was right. As the echoes grew, the fog thickened. It rose higher, curling between the friends like walls. Finn blinked, and Jake was gone. He turned, and Bubblegum's lantern had vanished. Marceline's hovering shadow melted into the mist. Even BMO's soft weight slipped from his pack. Jake? Finn shouted, his voice cracking. PB, Marceline? Only echoes answered him. Jake? PB, Marceline. Each call repeated, bouncing back at him in voices that weren't his own. The friends called out too, but to each of them it was the same. Alone, voices answering from the fog, sounding just enough like their friends to hurt, but not enough to trust. Jake stretched wildly through the haze, but every direction ended in nothing. Finn, where are you, bro? Marceline snarled, her voice sharp. This is its game. It wants us scattered. Princess Bubblegum held her lantern close, her breath steady despite her pounding chest. Don't follow the voices, no matter what. They'll sound like us, but it isn't us. BMO's small voice drifted through the clearing, soft and scared. But what if it really is us? The echoes swelled again, louder, circling, until the clearing trembled with sound. Stay with us. Forever. Don't leave. Each friend trapped in their own patch of fog, lanterns flickering, voices pressing in, unsure which way was forward, or if there even was a way out. And the forest grew hungrier. The clearing pulsed with voices until, just as suddenly as it began, the echoes died. The silence was worse. Each friend stood alone, their lanterns dim and trembling, the fog so thick it pressed against their skin like cold cloth. Finn gripped his lantern, turning in slow circles. Jake? PB? Anyone? His voice was swallowed instantly, no echo this time. The forest had grown tired of games. It wanted something else. And then he saw it. A figure ahead, small, lantern raised, a sword strapped to its back. Finn stepped forward, heart pounding. Wait. Hey, that's... The figure lifted its head. It was Finn. His own face, pale and still, staring back at him through the mist. The reflection's mouth opened slowly, too slowly, like wood creaking apart. Its voice was hollow, scraped thin. Stay here. Never leave. You belong to the night. Finn staggered back. His lantern flared as the reflection stepped closer, boots not touching the ground. Somewhere else in the clearing. Jake stretched himself long, reaching desperately through the haze. Finn? Buddy? His paw brushed something warm, another paw. He sighed in relief. Finally, man. Don't scare me like that. But when he looked, it wasn't Finn holding his paw. It was Jake. Another Jake, taller, stretched impossibly high, its body bending like broken rope. The other Jake grinned too wide, teeth glinting in the fog. Its voice was low, heavy, like a growl inside his skull. Stretch forever. Never snap. Never stop. Jake yanked his paw away, body shivering. Nope. Not me. Not real. Across the circle, Princess Bubblegum's lantern flickered pink against the mist. She stepped carefully, mind sharp even as her chest tightened. Ahead, a silhouette stood tall, holding a lantern just like hers. She narrowed her eyes. I know this trick, she whispered. The reflection tilted its head, a perfect mirror of her. Its voice was calm, steady, precise. Her own voice, but colder. You can't save them. You can only stay. Forever in the dark with me. Bubblegum's fingers tightened around her lantern handle. Yeah, not me. But the reflection smiled. I am the version that never leaves. And somewhere else, Marceline floated through the mist, her boots brushing the ground. She wasn't afraid, not really, but the silence gnawed at her ears. Then she heard music. Low, faint, familiar. The strum of her axe bass. She spun. There she was. Another Marceline, floating with her instrument in hand, eyes glowing red. The other Marceline smirked, baring fangs. Don't fight it. The night is ours. Stay in the dark. Sing forever. The real Marceline's grip tightened on her strap. Cute. But I don't duet with copies. And finally BMO wandered alone, their small lantern swaying in one hand. The mist parted just enough to reveal a tiny figure ahead. Square body, glowing screen, little arms waving. BMO gasped. Another BMO? Yay. Finally a friend. The other BMO tilted its head, its screen flickering static. Slowly letters formed across its face. Stay, stay, stay. Its voice crackled, broken like a game cartridge jammed too tight. Never off, never leave. Stay forever on. BMO stepped back, shaking their head. No. I want to go home. All across the clearing, each friend faced themselves or something wearing their shape. The reflections stepped closer. Lanterns sputtered. Shadows stretched. The forest pressed in, whispering again, all voices at once. Finn's, Jake's, Bubblegum's, Marceline's, BMO's. Stay! 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 The friends, scattered and alone, each had to decide step toward their reflection, or run deeper into the fog. And the forest waited, hungry, patient. The fog shifted, the echoes dimmed, and one by one the friends stumbled out of the mist. Finn ran first, lantern high, eyes wide with relief. Jake! Jake stretched his body around him in an instant, hugging tight. Dude, I thought I lost you in there. Princess Bubblegum emerged next, her lantern glowing faint pink. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. You're all here. Thank Glob. Marceline floated down behind them, her smirk returning, though weaker, thinner. Yeah, I knew I'd find you guys. Totally didn't freak out back there. BMO waddled from the mist last, arms spread wide. Group hug before the fog comes back. The friends clung together, lanterns glowing in a small circle of light. Their voices overlapped, a mixture of laughter, nervous chatter, and shaky relief. But the forest didn't care about their reunion. It had only paused. The mist rolled back, curling low, revealing something ahead. The friends turned together, lanterns raised. A river. It cut across the clearing, wide and black, its surface smooth as glass. The moon shone in it like a silver coin, unbroken, too perfect. The water did not move, not a ripple, not a wave. And across it stretched a bridge. Old wood. Crooked boards. Pale railings bent with age. It looked like it had stood for centuries and might fall with one step. Jake squinted. You sure that thing is, safe? Finn tightened his grip on his lantern. Safe or not, it's the only way across. Princess Bubblegum studied the river, her face sharp with thought. Look at the reflection. They did. The real bridge was broken in places, gaps, showing the water beneath. But its reflection below, smooth, whole, perfect. Marceline hovered closer, her eyes narrowing. That's not a reflection. That's another bridge, a better one. Finn shook his head. Doesn't matter. We can't walk on water. The friends stepped closer. The first plank groaned under Finn's boot, but held. Jake stretched his paw across the railing, pressing down. Solid, but I don't like it. Bubblegum raised her lantern higher. Then we don't look down. We just keep moving. So they crossed. One step, two, three. The bridge creaked, but carried them forward. The river beneath stayed perfectly still. Then ripples. At first small, then wider. Circles spreading across the surface, breaking the perfect reflection. Finn froze. Guys. Shapes moved beneath the water. Dark, long-limbed, pale-faced. Dozens of them drifting just under the surface, arms reaching upward but never breaking through. BMO whimpered, clutching Finn's backstrap. They're water friends. I don't want water friends. The shadows pressed closer, their pale faces inches from the surface. Their mouths opened as if to scream, but no sound rose. Jake's ears flattened. Keep walking. Don't stop. Don't look down. But it was impossible not to look. The faces shifted with every ripple. Some looked like strangers. Some looked like the friends themselves, distorted, broken, drowning. Finn's lantern flickered. One shadow below looked up at him with his own eyes, his own face, whispering something he couldn't hear. Princess Bubblegum's jaw tightened. Don't listen. Just move. The whispers came anyway, rising from the water, bubbling, broken. Say, belong, sink? The bridge shook. Nails rattled. Boards strained. Marceline's voice sharpened. Run! The friends bolted, lanterns swinging wildly. The bridge screamed beneath their feet. The shadows below thrashed, their arms reaching higher, the water churning black and violent. Finn leapt onto the far shore first, pulling BMO with him. Jake stretched long, dragging Bubblegum across. Marceline swooped last, her boots hitting the ground just as the first plank behind them snapped. The bridge collapsed, one board at a time, plunging into the water below. The river roared, shadows writhing, then stilled again. When the last piece sank, silence returned. The water smoothed, the moon's reflection perfect once more, showing a bridge that no longer existed. Finn stared, breathless. If we'd been slower. Jake cut him off, shaking his head. Don't even say it. BMO peeked from Finn's shoulder, their screen dim. The forest didn't want us to go back. Princess Bubblegum lifted her lantern. Her voice was quiet, heavy. No, it only wants us deeper. The fog curled forward again, swallowing the river, swallowing the ruins, leaving nothing. The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes every step sound louder than it should. A pale moon floated high above, silver light trickling down through tangled branches. The forest stretched endlessly, tall trees lined in rows, their shadows bending into the mist that rolled along the ground. Finn led the way, lantern swinging gently from his hand. His pack rattled with supplies, but his voice was calm, soft. Pretty night, huh? Little spooky, but kinda nice too. Jake padded beside him, his paws sinking into damp moss. He stretched his legs long, then short again, keeping pace. Nice, yeah. But Spooky's doing most of the heavy lifting, man. Behind them, Princess Bubblegum lifted her own lantern. Its pink glow brushed across tree trunks, slick with dew, making the bark shine wet in the moonlight. She studied the ground as they walked. There should be markers here, stones or notches on the trees, but I don't see any. BMO peeked out from Finn's backpack, their small screen flickering faintly, a tiny tune humming through their speaker. Marching, marching, through the sleepy woods. Their little arms swayed with the rhythm, keeping their own kind of lantern glow against the night. Marceline floated lazily just above the group, her boots dragging low enough to stir the mist. Her eyes half closed, she said, "Relax, you guys. It's just fog and trees. Creepy, yeah, but harmless." But the forest didn't feel harmless. The trail beneath them, a narrow ribbon of pressed soil, began to blur. The edges softened, dark moss curling over the path. Each step forward smeared the trail thinner until dirt blended with grass, and grass with fog, until there was no line to follow at all. Finn slowed, lantern held higher. Where'd the trail go? Jake stretched his paw across the ground, patting at the earth. It was right here. I know it was. Princess Bubblegum crouched low, brushing her fingers against the soil. The ground's damp. Too damp. It's covering everything. Marceline crossed her arms, floating lower, her voice quieter now. Or the forest doesn't want us to see it. The friends stopped. The silence pressed in tight. No owls hooted. No insects stirred, just the thick breath of the mist, curling around their ankles, rising higher with every moment. Finn turned his head slowly. Behind them, the way they had come was already gone. The trail, their footprints, even the shape of the lantern light, they were all swallowed by fog. Jake muttered, ears pressed flat. Okay, that's not cool. Paths don't just disappear. Princess Bubblegum straightened, her lantern steady in her hand. Some places, some forests, shift. They fold themselves to protect something or to trap someone. The mist curled tighter. The trees loomed closer. Finn's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Feels like the woods are swallowing it. BMO tilted their little head, screen blinking with soft static. Maybe the forest is hungry. Maybe it ate the trail. Chomp, chomp, gone. Marceline smirked faintly, but her eyes stayed on the fog. Guess that makes us dessert, huh? Nobody laughed. The lanterns cast trembling circles of light, small islands in a sea of silver. Each friend's glow overlapped just enough to keep them together, but beyond that, the world was gone. The mist stretched endlessly in every direction, swallowing sound and space. Finn took a deep breath, steadying his voice. Then we don't stop. If the path is gone, we make our own. So they walked again slowly, carefully, deeper into the mist, step by step. The ground was soft, uncertain, like walking across something alive. And as they moved forward, the forest seemed to breathe with them, each inhale drawing the fog closer, each exhale letting it slip around their legs. No one spoke. No one laughed. The night had grown too quiet for that dot. The moon drifted high in the sky, a pale coin against a velvet black canvas. Its light filtered gently through branches that twisted together like fingers laced in secret. The air was cool, soft against the skin, with the faint smell of pine and wet moss rising from the forest floor. The friends walked together, close, lanterns glowing like stars caught low to the ground. Finn led them, steady and confident, though his steps slowed now and then when the mist grew thick. He held his lantern high, the warm glow catching in his blonde hair and reflecting in his wide eyes. See, this isn't so bad. Just a night hike, adventure time under the moon. His voice carried softly, careful not to stir the silence too much. Jake padded along beside him, stretching his legs long with each step, paws pressing into the moss and springing back. He stretched taller and shorter than into a silly shape for just a moment, an attempt to lighten the mood. Yeah, a night hike with fog that looks like it wants to eat us. Real cozy, bro. But even Jake's joking tone felt muted here, swallowed by the forest's hush. Princess Bubblegum's lantern burned steady and pink, her posture upright and careful. She watched the ground with a scientist's eyes, scanning each root and stone, as though the soil itself might reveal its secrets. Her voice was calm but low. The earth is damp, too damp. Trails don't just vanish unless something's covering them. Finn frowned, peering down. She was right. The pressed dirt of the path had softened, blurred by moisture, until it blended with the moss at its edges. Every step forward smeared the trail thinner until it was no longer a trail at all, just soft ground fading into the mist. BMO peeked from Finn's backpack, their little arms outstretched like wings. Their screen glowed faint blue, flickering with happy pixels. Marching, marching, friends all marching. Their tinny voice rose in a sing-song hum, as though the forest itself could be comforted by a lullaby. Marceline floated lazily above the group, her axe base slung on her back, eyes half-lidded. She kicked her boots gently through the mist, stirring silver curls that closed back together as soon as she passed. "You're all wound up," she said, her voice cool. "It's just trees, fog, a little spooky vibe, nothing we can't handle." But the words didn't settle, because the forest was not still. The trees seemed to lean closer as they walked, branches arching like ribs overhead. The fog wasn't drifting aimlessly, it was curling, coiling, pressing around their ankles, as though tugging them gently deeper. Finn stopped. His lantern swung slightly, sending shadows crawling across the bark. "Where's the path?" His voice was small, uncertain now. Jake stretched long, laying a paw against the ground. He pressed, paw pads sinking into soft moss. "I swear it was right here." His ears tilted back, uneasy. Princess Bubblegum knelt, brushing her hand across the damp earth. "The ground is swallowing it. The forest is shifting." Marceline floated lower, her red eyes reflecting lantern light. "Or maybe it doesn't want us to find our way out." The friends fell silent. The mist thickened behind them, already hiding the way they had come. No footprints, no markers, just endless silver haze. The night pressed heavy around their shoulders. No crickets sang, no owls hooted. Even the leaves were still, as though the forest was holding its breath. Finn's throat tightened. He turned slowly, looking at the fog where the trail had been. "It's like the woods. Swallowed it." BMO tilted their head, pixels blinking with soft static. "Maybe the forest was hungry. Maybe it ate the trail. Chomp, chomp, gone." No one laughed this time. The lanterns flickered, each glow trembling, their little circle of safety shrinking. Outside of it, the world didn't exist, just darkness, fog, and the shapes of trees stretching tall and endless. Jake muttered, tail stiff. "Okay. Paths don't just disappear. They don't." Princess Bubblegum's voice stayed even, though her knuckles whitened on her lantern handle. "Some forests bend themselves, they fold, sometimes to protect what's inside, and sometimes to keep wanderers from leaving." The mist crept higher, wrapping around their knees now, curling soft but insistent. Finn's lantern shook faintly in his hand. "Then we don't stop. If the path is gone, we make our own." So they pressed forward, close together now, their lanterns almost touching. Their laughter from earlier had faded. Their voices, when they spoke, were hushed, as though the forest might overhear. Step by step, deeper into the mist. The ground felt softer, stranger, as if the earth beneath was shifting with them. Each boot pressed down, and the moss seemed to breathe in return. No one dared say it, but all of them felt it. The forest was alive, and it was watching Dot. The friends pressed forward, lanterns glowing faintly against the fog. With every step, the trees grew taller, their trunks rising like towers into the night, their branches twisted together high above to form a roof of tangled black lace. The air hung heavy, cold, and still. Finn glanced back at the others, his lantern trembling faintly in his grip. "We just keep moving, right? Straight ahead. That's the plan." His voice was steady, but his shoulders were tense. Jake stretched close, his long body looping protectively around the group like a living shield. "Straight ahead, sure. Just don't think about how straight ahead looks exactly the same as straight behind." Princess Bubblegum walked with her lantern held high, her pink light brushing against the trunks. She scanned the bark as though searching for patterns, her eyes sharp. "The trees are too uniform, too evenly spaced. Forests don't grow like this on their own." Marceline floated just above, arms crossed, her boots drifting through the mist without sound. "Feels more like a hallway than a forest. A hallway that doesn't end." BMO peeked from Finn's shoulder strap, their little screen glowing with playful static. They hummed softly, voice tinny and sweet. Marching, marching, never lost. Friends together at any cost. Finn smiled faintly at BMO's song, but his eyes never left the shadows between the trees. The silence of the forest pressed in. No wind, no birds, no insects, only the muffled thud of boots against moss. And then a whisper. Though soft, it might have been the wind, if there had been wind at all. This way. Finn stopped. His lantern swung slowly, its light catching damp bark. Did you hear that? Jake's ears perked, twitching in every direction. Hear what? The forest answered. Over here. The voice was faint, thin as breath. It slipped between the trees like smoke. Just clear enough to be words, just distant enough to keep them guessing. Princess Bubblegum's eyes darted into the mist. Someone's here. Marceline tilted her head, her eyes narrowing. The fog was heavier now, curling thick and silver, pressing against their legs and clinging to their clothes. It moved like water, like waves rolling slowly around them. Their lanterns bobbed and glowed, trembling islands of light in a sea of darkness. Finn adjusted his grip on his lantern, his knuckles pale. His voice came quiet but firm. We're fine. It's just fog. Just trees. Nothing weird. But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true. Jake stretched his body long, looping protectively around the group, his paws padding across the soft moss. His tail twitched nervously. Man, I don't know. I got this gut feeling, and my gut's usually right. It's like the woods don't want us here. Princess Bubblegum lifted her lantern higher. The soft pink glow spread across damp trunks, catching beads of dew that glittered like eyes staring back. Her brows furrowed. I've studied forests. None behave like this. The branches, they're leaning closer. The ground is shifting. It feels deliberate. Marceline floated just above them, boots dragging in the mist, her arms crossed tight. She tried to sound casual, her voice cool. It's a trick. It has to be. Woods can't think. They can't whisper. But the forest answered. This way. The voice was faint, sliding low through the trees. Finn froze. His chest tightened. What was that? Jake's ears shot up, his body stiff. That wasn't me. Another whisper. Over here. This time from the right. Then another behind them. Don't be afraid. Princess Bubblegum's lantern flickered. She steadied it, her face calm but pale. It's circling us. The friends pressed closer, lanterns overlapping into one larger pool of trembling light. BMO peeked over Finn's shoulder, their little screen glowing faintly. Maybe it's other hikers. Maybe they're lost too. We could make more friends. Their voice was bright, but even BMO's pixels flickered at the edges. The forest spoke again, softer, closer. Finn? Mon ami? Marceline? Oh? Hearing their names made them all stop cold. Marceline's eyes flashed red. She hovered lower, fists clenched. It knows us. Princess Bubblegum's voice was sharp, tight. That's impossible! The voices answered, overlapping, rising and falling like wind through branches. Not impossible. Only true. The fog swirled higher, brushing their waists, curling against their arms. The lantern light grew weaker, as though the whispers themselves were drinking it. Finn tightened his jaw. Don't listen. Don't stop. So they walked. Boots pressing into moss, paws sinking soundless, lanterns bobbing. The fog swallowed their footsteps instantly, erasing any sign of where they had been. The voices followed. This way. This way. Closer now. Stay with us. Forever in the dark. Don't fight. Don't leave. Jake muttered under his breath, his ears twitching. Man, I swear I can feel them breathing on my neck. He twisted to look, but there was nothing. Just shadows bending between the trunks. Princess Bubblegum walked stiffly, shoulders square, jaw set. But her grip on the lantern was too tight, her knuckles pale. For a moment, she thought she felt a hand brush her arm, small, cold, gone before she could react. Marceline floated slower now, her eyes scanning every corner of the mist. The whispers slid into her ears like music, sweet and low. Sing with us. Sing forever. She shook her head hard, baring her fangs. Not falling for it. Finn kept his lantern high, sweat beading at his temples despite the cool night air. The whispers pressed closer, some sounding like strangers, others like familiar voices he knew. For a moment he swore he heard his own voice whispering back at him. Finn, don't leave. He stumbled, his chest tightening. Jake caught his arm quickly. Don't listen, bro, that ain't you. BMO clutched tighter to Finn's backpack straps, their little voice trembling. I don't like the whisper, friends. I don't like them at all. The forest pressed tighter. The trees leaned closer. The whispers grew louder, overlapping until they filled every corner of the night. Closer, stay, forever. Don't leave. Don't fight. Belong. This way. This way. This way. Their lanterns flickered weakly, shrinking until it felt like only a breath of light kept them from being swallowed whole. But step by step, hearts pounding, they kept moving. Through fog. Through whispers. Through a forest that wanted them closer. And the further they walked, the louder the voices grew. The forest was not silent anymore. It was alive. And it was calling just for them. The whispers guided them forward, not with footsteps, not with hands, but with sound, sliding through the mist, circling, pressing them toward somewhere unseen. The forest closed in tighter, the trunks crowding closer together, the branches bending low as though funneling them. And then, suddenly, the trees parted. They stepped into a clearing, wide and round, open to the pale light of the moon. The fog lingered low, crawling across the grass like a silver sea. Above them, the sky revealed itself again, dark and deep, scattered with sharp pinpoints of stars. It almost felt like relief. Finn exhaled slowly, lowering his lantern. Finally, space to breathe. His voice echoed faintly, carrying too far for the size of the clearing. Jake stretched his legs long, shaking out his paws. Yeah, wide open. No trees breathing down our necks. But he didn't uncurl his tail from around the group. His eyes shifted nervously to the shadows at the edges. Princess Bubblegum raised her lantern, its pink glow spreading in a wide circle. The grass shimmered wet, sparkling like frost, though the air wasn't cold. She crouched, fingers brushing the blades. Strange. It's damp, but not from dew, almost as if it's been crying. Marceline floated higher, surveying the clearing with narrowed eyes. Big open space in the middle of a creepy forest. Yeah, sure. Totally not a trap. She smirked faintly, but her voice had no laugh in it. BMO hopped down from Finn's backpack, landing softly in the wet grass. Their screen glowed bright. Yay! Room to dance! They spun in a small circle, little arms out, singing quietly. Round and round the foggy ground, friends are safe where light is found. The sound echoed strangely, too loud, bouncing back from the darkness. The friends froze. Every whisper they had heard before was gone. No voices, no names, only their own sounds, stretching too far, curling back like faint shadows of themselves. Finn cleared his throat. Did anyone else hear that echo? Jake's tail flicked. Yeah, except there aren't any walls here. Just trees. Trees don't echo. Princess Bubblegum straightened, her lantern steady. Unless the sound isn't bouncing, unless something is sending it back. And then it began. Not whispers this time. Echoes. Their own voices repeating softly from the shadows. Finally, space to breathe. Finn's words, but slower, lower. Room to dance. BMO's song warped and stretched. Not a trap. Marceline's tone twisted into a hiss. Crying. Bubblegum's voice, soft as a sigh. Safe. Jake's words, but hollow, empty. The friends stood very still, lanterns trembling. Finn swallowed hard. That's, us. The echoes overlapped, rising louder, repeating words they hadn't spoken yet. Don't move. Stay here. Forever. Princess Bubblegum's breath caught. It's predicting us. Marceline's red eyes gleamed in the lantern light. No, it's deciding for us. The fog shifted suddenly, pulling inward, curling like smoke toward the center of the clearing. Their lanterns flickered, their circle of light shrinking. And from the mist, the echoes grew louder, deeper, stranger. Finn, Jake, Bubblegum, Marceline, BMO. Their names, but not their voices. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere, each syllable stretched long, vibrating through the grass and up into their bones. The forest had grown quieter. Too quiet. The whispers had faded, the breathing of the woods had slowed, and even the fog seemed to have lost its restless swirling. The friends walked in silence, lanterns dim, their boots pressing gently into moss that held the shape of their steps like memory. Finn adjusted the faint glow of his lantern, the tiny flame trembling. His voice was barely above a murmur. It feels different here, like the forest is holding its breath. Jake stretched his body long, ears flicking back. Yeah, man. No more whispers, no more creepy wind. Just quiet. I don't like it. Princess Bubblegum carried her lantern close, her face pale in its fading pink light. She didn't answer right away, only watched the path that seemed to guide them forward. At last, she whispered, "Quiet can be worse than noise. Quiet means waiting." Marceline hovered above the ground, her red eyes glowing faintly in the mist. Or quiet means someone already knows we're here. The group slowed, glancing at one another. Even BMO, perched on Jake's shoulder, stopped humming softly and turned their little screen eyes toward the fog. That was when Finn noticed it. A glow, not far ahead. A soft, flickering orange light, blurred by the fog. Different from their lanterns, warmer, steadier. Finn stopped walking. "Do you see that?" Jake squinted, his body stretching taller to peek through the mist. His nose twitched. "Smoke. I smell smoke." Princess Bubblegum's brows furrowed. "Smoke? Out here?" Marceline floated forward a little, crossing her arms, her tone sharp but low. "Looks like someone's got a campfire. Strange timing, huh? Where's the campers?" The friends pushed ahead, slowly, cautiously. The fog thinned just enough to reveal a circle of stone set into the ground. Inside the circle, blackened logs lay in a heap, glowing faint red at the edges. Wisps of smoke rose lazily, twisting into the night. The air smelled of charred wood, sharp and sour, as though someone had left only minutes ago. Finn crouched, holding his lantern close to the fire pit. The faint warmth brushed against his skin, real and steady. "This is fresh." Jake frowned, pulling BMO close to his chest. "If it's fresh, where's everybody? Nobody just walks away from a fire like this." Princess Bubblegum knelt beside Finn, pressing her hand against one of the darkened logs. The warmth made her jerk back quickly, her lips tightening. He's right. It was tended recently. Minutes, maybe less. Marceline hovered lower, her boots almost brushing the soot. She tilted her head, listening. And why is it so quiet? A fire this warm should come with laughter, talking, footsteps, something. But the clearing was empty. Only the campfire circle remained. Burnt logs still warm. Smoke still rising. And not a single camper in sight. The clearing held its silence for too long. The kind of silence that didn't belong around a fire. Finn's lantern trembled in his grip, the glow so faint he could barely outshine the embered logs. He stared at the smoke curling up into the air, twisting into shapes that never quite held still. "This doesn't feel right," he whispered. Jake leaned closer, sniffing the fire pit cautiously, his long nose wrinkling. "Still warm, but it's not burning right. Logs this charge should be cold by now." He stretched his body wider, wrapping protectively around the group. "It's like it doesn't want to go out." Princess Bubblegum stayed crouched, studying the stones that circled the pit. She brushed her fingers across the blackened edges, her scientific focus shadowed by unease. "The heat is natural, but the pattern... Look." She pointed to the ash scattered neatly around the stones. No sparks escaped, nothing spread outside the circle, to control. Marceline floated back slightly, her crimson eyes narrowing. Controlled by who, though? 'Cause I don't see anybody roasting marshmallows. The smoke shifted. It coiled thicker, the strands bending together until they looked like threads being woven. They curled into the fog, reaching, tugging faintly at the air. Finn stiffened. "Did you see that?" The smoke moved. BMO blinked, leaning from Jake's shoulder. Their little pixels flickered nervously. "But smoke always moves, Finn. Maybe it just wants to dance." Marceline's voice dropped low. "No, that wasn't dancing." The logs hissed, a faint pop, then another, and the sound stretched, bent, softened, until it became a word. "Say." The friends froze. Princess Bubblegum's eyes snapped to the fire pit. "Did you hear that?" Jake's ears shot straight up. His voice cracked. Yeah. That wasn't my imagination, right? Please tell me that wasn't just me." Finn swallowed, gripping his lantern tighter. The flame inside sputtered violently as though afraid. "It came from the logs!" The smoke coiled again, rising in a slow spiral, bending into their circle. The hiss of heat shaped itself once more. "Don't leave." The words were faint, stretched thin, like someone speaking through burning wood. BMO whimpered, their little hands pressing against the screen. "The fire is talking. But fires don't talk." Jake stepped back quickly, tugging BMO closer. Nope. This is ghost fire. Don't like it? Let's bounce." But the warmth pushed outward suddenly, like a hand pressing against their skin. For a moment, it didn't feel threatening. It felt comforting, almost inviting. Finn's breath caught. He shook his head hard. "No, it wants us to sit. That's what it's doing." The smoke twisted tighter, glowing faint red as it hissed again, louder this time. Stay warm. Don't go back into the dark." Marceline floated closer, her voice a sharp whisper. "It's not a fire. It's bait." The warmth grew stronger, the glow from the embers pulsing like a heartbeat. The voices overlapped, whispering, calling closer. "Sit with us. You're cold. We'll keep you warm." The friends stood at the edge of the circle, lanterns flickering weakly, each of them torn between the pull of the fire and the knowledge that no fire should speak. And in that moment, the clearing didn't feel empty anymore. It felt watched. The smoke swirled higher, curling like fingers through the fog. The warmth pulsed outward again, soft but heavy, pressing against their cheeks, their arms, their hearts. And then the whispers changed. No longer one voice. Now many. A chorus of crackles and hisses, each voice bending toward a different friend. Finn's lantern dimmed in his grip. The hiss of the logs bent toward him, curling through the smoke. "Finn! You're tired. Put the lantern down. Rest your eyes. You don't always have to fight." Finn's throat tightened. His eyelids felt heavy for just a moment, the promise of warmth pulling at him. But he shook his head violently, forcing his eyes open. "No, you don't get to use my name." Jake's ears folded back as another voice rose, low and coaxing. "Jake, stretch out. Lie down. The ground is soft. Warm. You don't need to protect anyone. Not tonight." Jake gritted his teeth, tail whipping. He pulled BMO closer against his chest. "Forget that. My job is protecting." BMO pressed their tiny hands against their face screen, trembling. But even through their static, a small voice drifted from the smoke. "BMO, let's play. Let's never stop. Sit close to the fire. You'll never be alone." BMO peeked out, pixels flickering in confusion. "But, that sounds fun." Jake hugged them tighter, growling. "Don't listen, buddy. It's a trick." The smoke curled toward Princess Bubblegum. The hiss of the fire softened, almost sweet. "Bonnibel, don't you want to know why no one left the circle? We'll tell you. All you have to do is stay." PB's jaw clenched, her lantern quivering in her hand. "Knowledge doesn't come from lies," she whispered, though her eyes stayed fixed on the embers. Marceline floated just above the stones, her hair trailing low into the smoke. A voice, sharper, hungrier, curled toward her. "Marceline, you belong with shadows, with smoke, with us. I don't fight it. You're one of us already." Her crimson eyes burned brighter. She bared her fangs, her voice a hiss. "You don't get to decide who I belong to." The smoke pulled back suddenly, sparks flaring. The voices overlapped, louder, harsher, pressing against their ears. "Stay! Stay! Don't leave us!" The warmth thickened, almost choking, filling the clearing like a cage of heat and ash. Finn's voice cracked through it, hoarse but strong. "Don't listen. It's not a fire, it's a trap." Jake stretched wider, curling around all of them, ears flat. "Then we get out of here now before it says something else." Princess Bubblegum lifted her lantern, its dim pink glow clashing with the orange embers. "Together, stay close. If we break the circle, we break the spell." The smoke surged one last time, furious, voices shrieking through the hiss. "Don't go, don't go, don't go." But the friends turned, stepping away from the stones. And as they crossed the edge of the circle, the warmth vanished. The cold came rushing back. The whispers cut off like a flame snuffed in the dark. Only silence remained. The circle vanished behind them, swallowed quickly by the fog. The warmth was gone, replaced with a cold so sharp it clung to their skin like frost. Their lanterns gave only thin slivers of glow, paling against the dark. For a moment it seemed over. Too over. Finn glanced back once, his jaw tight. Nothing but mist and shadows. "Still," he whispered, "don't look back anymore. We just keep moving." Jake stretched his legs long, striding fast, ears twitching with every sound. "Yeah, that's my kind of plan. Put as much distance between us and Campfire Ghost as possible." BMO peeked out from Jake's arms, their little pixels uncertain. "But it was warm. What if it just wanted to be friends?" "No way," Jake muttered, holding them tighter. That wasn't friendship, buddy. That was bait. Princess Bubblegum walked carefully beside Finn, her lantern trembling in her hand. Her voice was measured but low. The fire was too fresh, too neat. Someone or something made it for us. It wanted us to sit, to stay, maybe forever. Marceline floated just above them, her crimson eyes glowing faintly. And you all heard it too, right? It wasn't just smoke and logs. It knew our names. The thought pressed against them like the fog itself. Something in the woods had spoken to each of them. It wasn't random. The group fell into silence again, their footsteps muffled by moss. The forest around them felt heavier, as if listening. Then Jake froze. His body stiffened, his ears standing tall. You hear that? The others stopped. At first there was nothing. Just the soft drip of water from unseen branches, the distant sigh of wind, and then a faint crackle. Like wood catching fire. Finn's stomach dropped. He lifted his lantern higher. It's following us. The crackle grew louder, sharper. Then came the hiss of smoke, curling through the fog at their heels. A faint orange glow pulsed faintly behind them. The fire circle was gone, but its voice was not. You left. Why did you leave us? You're cold. Come back. The friends quickened their pace. The whispers rose with the glow. Closer. Don't run. We'll keep you safe. Finn's lantern sputtered, nearly out. He tightened his grip, teeth clenched. Keep going, don't turn around. Jake stretched taller, bounding forward with long strides, his voice tight. Oh, we're not stopping, dude. Not until that sound is gone. Princess Bubblegum's lantern dimmed dangerously, its pink glow fading. She pressed closer to Finn. The fire doesn't die. It follows. Marceline whipped around once, floating backward, her fangs glinting. Her eyes flared red at the creeping glow. Then let it follow. But it doesn't get to catch us. The glow pulsed brighter, the crackle growing, the smoke twisting into hands that reached through the fog. Don't go. Stay with us forever. The forest bent with the sound. The air thickened with heat. And then, all at once, the glow cut off. The crackle silenced. The smoke vanished. The friends stumbled to a halt, gasping in the sudden quiet. Only fog remained. Only cold. But the warmth lingered in their bones like a memory they hadn't asked for. Finn whispered, almost to himself, It'll find us again. No one disagreed. The group stood in silence, their breaths heavy, the fog pressing close once more. The campfire's glow was gone. The whispers were gone. But the feeling was not. Finn gripped his lantern tight, his knuckles pale. The tiny flame inside trembled weakly, almost ready to die. He raised it higher, trying to steady it, but froze. The ember wasn't weak anymore. It flared orange. Bright. Too bright. Finn staggered, almost dropping it. What? Jake stretched close, squinting. His ears flattened. Bro. That doesn't look like your lantern light. The flame shifted in color, flickering between gold and deep, angry red. The glow wasn't steady, it pulsed like a heartbeat. Princess Bubblegum's eyes widened. It's not your lantern anymore. The fire. It left a piece of itself with us. The others leaned closer. They saw it too, thin trails of smoke, coiling up from the lantern, just like the circle's fire. The warmth pressed outward, wrapping around Finn's hands, his chest, his face. Finn! His eyes snapped wide. He nearly dropped the lantern again. The voice was inside it. Don't be afraid. I'll keep you warm. Just put the lantern down. Sit. Rest. Finn's heart pounded. He clenched his jaw, holding it away from him. No, you're not real. Jake stretched his arms protectively around him, growling. Get rid of it, dude. Toss it before it starts talking louder. But Finn shook his head. His grip was iron. If I let it go, it might spread. We can't risk it lighting the forest. The flame pulsed again, smoke pressing harder, curling toward each of them. Jake, you're tired. Stretch out by the glow. Let's play forever in the firelight. Bonnabelle, don't you want to know what we know? Marceline, you're one of us already. The voices clawed through the mist. Marceline's red eyes burned brighter. She hovered close to Finn, her voice sharp. Then we don't drop it. We carry it, contain it. But it stays our prisoner, not the other way round. Princess Bubblegum nodded firmly. Yes? It wants to be free, but if we keep it sealed, it's weakened. The circle broke when we left. It's clinging to us now. BMO's little voice trembled. But what if it gets stronger? Finn tightened his grip on the lantern, the pulsing glow beating like a second heart in his hand. His voice was quiet, steady despite the fear. Then we keep moving. We don't let it win. We carry it until we find a way to put it out for good. The ember hissed, sparks dancing angrily against the glass. Don't fight me. You'll need me when the dark comes. The friends turned away from the whispers, their lanterns flickering weak beside the one that throbbed with stolen fire. They walked on deeper into the fog. And behind them, somewhere in the dark, another circle of burnt logs smoldered back to life, as though they had never left. The fog thinned slowly, giving way to the faint outline of something vast ahead. The ground sloped downward, damp beneath their boots, until the air grew cooler and heavy with the scent of water. Finn's lantern still pulsed against his chest, the ember inside flaring faintly with every step. The other's lights wavered weak and pale beside it, as if overshadowed. No one spoke for a long while. The only sound was the crunch of moss underfoot, until the earth flattened and the trees pulled back. Before them stretched a river, wide, dark, still. The surface did not ripple, not from the breeze, not from their presence. It lay flat, like glass, stretched across the earth, and spanning at a bridge, old, wooden. Long planks bound by rope, swaying gently though the air was calm. The posts at each end leaned with age, their edges chewed by rot. Jake's body stiffened, his ears perked high. No way. Bridges like that don't just sit here waiting for us in spooky woods. Princess Bubblegum stepped forward, peering into the water. Her lantern flickered pink, but its glow bent strangely against the surface. This river isn't normal. Look at it. It doesn't move. Not even when the fog drifts across. Marceline floated low over the edge of the bank, her crimson eyes narrowing. It's like it's holding its breath, same as the forest did. Finn gripped his lantern tighter, its ember pulse throbbing faintly. He looked at the bridge, then back at his friends. There's no other way. The trail ends here. BMO leaned over Jake's stretched shoulder, pixels flickering nervously. It looks like a mirror. What if something looks back? The water gave no reflection. Not of them, not of the lanterns, only black, endless depth. The group stood together, staring at the bridge that stretched into the fog, its far side hidden. And as they watched, the wood creaked softly, like footsteps, slow, even, crossing toward them. But the planks did not bend. The ropes did not sway. The bridge moved, but nothing walked upon it. Jake's voice cracked. Tell me I'm not hearing that. Finn swallowed hard, his lantern's glow throbbing like a second heartbeat. You're hearing it. The footsteps grew louder, closer, coming from the fog at the far side of the bridge. But no one appeared. Only the sound. Step, step, step. Until it stopped. Right in the middle. The friends stood frozen at the edge, their lanterns weak against the endless black water, the silent air, the bridge that carried footsteps of the unseen. Then the ember in Finn's lantern pulsed brighter, smoke hissing through the cracks. Cross. Don't wait. The bridge is safe. The voices of the fire again. But none of them believed it. The forest path narrowed, then ended in a wide, sudden clearing. The fog drifted apart, unveiling something vast and black at their feet. A river. It stretched farther than their lanterns could reach, wide as a valley and calm as glass. Not a ripple stirred the surface, not even where fog brushed gently against it. The water did not flow, did not move. It lay heavy, dark, and endless. The friends stopped together at the edge, lanterns trembling in their hands. Jake stretched his body long, leaning forward cautiously. His reflection did not meet him. The water gave nothing back. Look, guys, this river's broken. No reflection. That's not cool. Princess Bubblegum knelt carefully at the bank, holding her lantern low. Its faint pink glow pressed against the water's skin, but didn't sink inside. It skated off as though the river rejected the light. It isn't water, she whispered. It only looks like it. Marceline hovered close, her boots just above the earth, eyes glowing faint red. It feels heavy, like if you touched it, it would pull you under. Forever. Finn's lantern pulsed faintly in his hand, the ember inside glowing with its own heartbeat. He stared across the expanse, jaw tight. The fog on the far side was thick, hiding the shore. There was no way around. If we wanted to keep going, we have to cross. And there it was, spanning the river. A bridge. Its planks were old and warped, their wood swollen from years of damp air. Rope lashed them together, thick cords frayed at the edges, the fibers stiff with rot. The posts leaned at odd angles, like weary guardians bowing their heads. The bridge swayed softly, though the air was still. Jake's ears flattened, his voice cracked. Oh no, nope. You're not telling me we gotta go on that thing. It's begging to snap in half. BMO peeked over his shoulder, pixels flickering. But, it's the only way, right? Unless we swim. They trailed off, staring at the black water. Their pixels dimmed. Let's not swim. The group stood in silence, the sound of the river pressing around them. And then, creak. The bridge shifted. The ropes tightened. The wood groaned softly as though something walked across. But nothing was there. No figure, no shadow. Only the sound of steps, slow and steady, moving from the far side of the bridge toward the middle. Creak. Pause. Creak. Pause. Each sound sank heavy into their bones, louder than it should have been. Finn's breath caught. It's footsteps. Jake curled tighter around them, ears twitching wildly. Whose footsteps, bro? 'Cause I don't see anyone out there. Marceline's red eyes glowed brighter, fixed on the fog at the far end. Her voice dropped low. Something's waiting for us. The footsteps stopped, dead center of the bridge, and silence returned thick, suffocating, heavier than before. The friends stood frozen at the edge, staring into the endless black water, the old swaying planks, and the place where something invisible stood waiting. The path ended with no warning. One moment the ground was firm beneath their boots, damp and mossy. The next, it broke away into a vast, quiet abyss. A river lay before them. It was wide, so wide they couldn't see the far bank through the fog, and it was still, too still. Its surface was dark as ink, spread across the world like a polished stone. Not a ripple touched it. Not a current stirred beneath. The friends gathered at the bank, their lanterns glowing faintly against the endless black. Jake stretched his body long, leaning forward until his snout hovered over the water. His ears twitched nervously. He expected to see his face looking back up, goofy eyes, floppy nose, but the river gave nothing. No reflection, just emptiness. "Okay," Jake muttered, his voice sharp with unease. "No reflection. Rule number 1, guys. Water's supposed to show your face. This is messed up." Princess Bubblegum lowered herself carefully to the edge, her lantern in hand. She tilted it down, letting the pale pink glow rest against the surface. But instead of sinking in, the light skimmed across, rejected like oil on glass. "It's not water," she said softly. "It only looks like it. Whatever this is, it doesn't want us to touch it." BMO peeked from Jake's shoulder, their little face flickering with pixels that wavered nervously. "What if it's a screen? A giant screen showing nothing?" "No way, little buddy," Finn said, his jaw tight. He kept his grip firm on his own lantern, the cursed one, with the ember still pulsing inside. Each beat was faint but steady, like a heart unwilling to quiet. "That thing's real. And whatever's in it, it's waiting." Marceline floated forward, her boots just skimming above the dirt. She hovered over the black expanse, crimson eyes glowing faintly against the mist. "I can feel it. It's heavy. If you touch it, it'll pull you down, deeper and deeper until—" She cut herself off, her lips pressed thin. "Let's just say, none of us are swimming across." The silence pressed close again. The air was too still, too careful, as though the forest was holding its breath. And then Finn saw it. Spanning the river, stretched from one bank to the other, a bridge. It was made of wood, planks warped from age, their surfaces swollen and dark with damp. Thick ropes bound them together, frayed strands clinging by threads. The posts on each side leaned tiredly, bowed with years of weight, their wood chewed by mold and rot. The bridge swayed softly, though no wind touched it. Finn stepped closer, lantern tight in his hands. "That's the way across." Jake's body stiffened. Nope. I'm not setting one paw on that thing. Look at it. That bridge is just waiting for a big dog like me to snap it in half." Princess Bubblegum stood, brushing damp moss from her knees. "We don't have another choice. There's no trail along the river. If we go around, we could be walking forever." BMO's voice trembled. "Maybe forever is safer." Marceline didn't smile. She didn't tease. She just floated silently above them, her gaze fixed on the far end of the bridge. "There's something on the other side, waiting." Her words hung heavy in the air. The group stood together at the riverbank, the cursed lantern in Finn's hand pulsing faintly, the fog curling low around their ankles. Then creak. The bridge shifted. The ropes tightened. The wood moaned softly as though something pressed weight into its planks. Creak. Pause. Creak. Pause. Slow, steady footsteps, moving from the far side of the bridge toward the middle. But nothing was there. No shape in the fog. No outline. No shadow. Only the sound. Each creak rang louder than it should have, echoing through the still air, sinking deep into the bones of everyone listening. Finn's throat tightened, His lantern's ember pulsed hard once, as if answering the sound. It's footsteps. Jake's voice cracked. Footsteps of what, bro? 'Cause I don't see anybody walking out there. Marceline's crimson eyes glowed brighter, locked on the center of the bridge. She whispered low, "Something standing there." The footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was worse. The bridge hung still, the ropes swaying faintly, the black water unmoving below. The friends didn't breathe. Their hearts thudded in their chests, matching the pulse of Finn's cursed lantern. And then the wood groaned once more, not from movement, but as though something had settled in the middle, waiting, watching. The bridge no longer swayed on its own. It swayed with someone's weight. But no one could see who. Finn's knuckles tightened around his lantern. The ember inside pulsed faster, almost eager, like it knew the bridge was alive. He glanced at his friends. "We don't have a choice. We cross together." Jake's ears twitched wildly. His body stretched tall and thin like a nervous string. "Bro, this is the part where people in scary stories turn around and go home." "Why aren't we doing that?" "Because we don't have a home behind us," Marceline said darkly, hovering close. "Only fog that eats trails." Princess Bubblegum raised her lantern, its pink glow pale against the endless black water. "One step at a time. Careful. Don't rush. Stay in the middle." BMO whispered faintly, clutching Jake's fur. "Hold my hand, even if it's stretchy." Jake sighed, long and shaky, and stretched a paw back toward BMO. "You got it, little buddy." Finn stepped first. The plank groaned beneath his boot, long and hollow, echoing like the belly of something breathing. The rope quivered, the whole bridge swaying just slightly. The river below remained flat, then rippled. Wide circles formed where his foot touched wood, racing across the water without wind, without cause. The ripples spread, then stopped. The surface went still again. The friends froze. "It noticed," Marceline whispered. Jake swallowed. "Yeah, and I'm not loving the attention." But Finn kept moving. Step by step, he pressed forward, the others following reluctantly behind. Each plank groaned louder than the last. Each footfall made new ripples bloom on the black surface below, spiraling outward until they vanished at the edge of sight. And then creak. A second set of footsteps. Behind them. Slow. Even. Matching their pace. But no one was there. The bridge shifted as though something heavy pressed onto it, following them step for step. Jake hissed under his breath. "It's right on our tails, dude." "Don't look back," Finn said quickly, voice tight. "Keep walking." The cursed lantern throbbed in his hand, smoke curling faintly inside the glass. The fire's whispers bled through in a voice that was almost gentle. "Don't worry. It only wants to cross with you. Don't leave it behind." The words wrapped around them like fog. But the friends kept walking, the bridge groaning, the black water rippling, and the unseen footsteps never far behind. Step by step, the friends crept forward. The ropes groaned, the planks sagged, the fog pressed tight around them. Behind, the phantom footsteps followed, never rushing, never faltering, always one breath away. Until at last, they reached the center. The place where the footsteps had stopped before. Finn froze, his lantern pulsing in his grip. The ember's glow pressed against the mist, as though it wanted to flare brighter, but the glass held it back. Jake hunched low, his stretched legs wobbling, claws dug deep into the planks. "Okay, this is it. This is where it gets us, isn't it? Right here in the middle. Classic horror trap." Princess Bubblegum's lantern flickered nervously, its pink light weak against the black river below. Don't panic. Just keep your balance. Bridges are designed to hold weight evenly. BMO's little voice quivered. But it's not just holding our weight, is it? They all glanced down. The water stirred. Not with waves, not with wind, but with shapes. The ripples twisted, curling into spirals, circles overlapping, folding inward, until the surface of the river looked like an enormous eye opening beneath them. Marceline floated higher, her red eyes glowing sharply against the fog. It's watching us. Finn leaned over slightly, heart pounding. The surface showed no reflection of him, no shadow, no face. Instead, something pale flickered in the depths, a hand, long, skeletal, stretching upward before fading back into the dark. The planks shuddered beneath them, rattling as though many feet pressed down at once. Creak, creak, creak. The phantom footsteps circled them faster now, pacing across planks that never bent. Finn raised his lantern high. Show yourself! The ember flared violently, its smoke swirling. The cursed voice spilled out warm and cruel. It already has. Look below. The friends leaned over despite themselves. The river rippled harder, and for the first time, a reflection appeared. Not theirs, but something else, a tall figure, faceless, standing in the middle of the bridge, towering over them all. Yet when they turned their heads, no one was there. Only the reflection. The black water stared back with a being that walked where they stood, invisible to every eye but the river's. The water rippled softly, unnaturally, though no wind stirred. And in its depths, the reflection stood. Tall, faceless, too still. It loomed among the rippling circles, its shadow-stretched body standing directly beneath the friends. Yet on the bridge above nothing. Jake stretched his neck nervously, scanning every inch of empty planks. Okay. So tell me I'm not crazy. It's there, but it's not there. We're officially walking with ghosts, dudes. BMO clung to him, tiny voice trembling. It looks so tall. It could touch the sky. Princess Bubblegum narrowed her eyes, holding her lantern closer to the water. The glow bent unnaturally, sliding around the reflection instead of shining on it. It doesn't obey light or weight or rules. It's not supposed to exist. Finn's cursed lantern pulsed hot in his hand, the ember glowing red now, smoke smearing against the glass. A voice seeped through, low, coaxing. Don't be afraid. It only wants to join you. Let it through. The figure in the water shifted, slowly, wrongly. Its arms lifted, long, skeletal, reaching upward. The planks beneath them groaned. The rope strained, fibers snapping softly, like threads of hair breaking. Marceline bared her fangs, her voice sharp. It's not staying in the water. The reflection's faceless head tilted. Not matching Finn. Not matching anyone. Then its body bent downward, folding in impossible angles, leaning toward them as if the river itself was pulling it upward. The water bulged around its reaching arms, ripples thickening into waves though the surface never broke. Jake whimpered, ears flat. Bro, if that thing climbs out, I am gone. Stretching all the way back to Ooh. Finn raised his lantern higher, trying to push its glow against the reflection. Stay back! The ember inside hissed, its smoke swirling violently. The voice pressed louder, desperate. No, don't send it away. It belongs with you now. The reflection's arms pressed closer. Its fingers nearly brushed the underside of the bridge. And the wood bowed in answer, Dot. The bridge sagged, ropes whining as if they bore not only the friend's weight, but something else pressing upward from below. Finn's lantern pulsed so hot it nearly burned his palm. The ember inside writhed, smoke curling like grasping hands. Below, the reflection's long fingers brushed the underside of the planks, wood darkening wherever they touched, as though soaked in ink. The sound was unbearable. Creak, stretch, splinter. Jake's eyes bulged, his voice squeaking. Nope, nope, nope. Somebody tell me why the reflection is heavier than us. Princess Bubblegum grabbed his arm, steadying herself. It's not a reflection. It's something else, using the water as a doorway. The figure's faceless head tilted farther, bending at an impossible angle until it stared directly at Finn's lantern. My, the ember whispered, smoke pressing hard against the glass. Let it in. Let it climb free. Finn gritted his teeth, his grip shaking but firm. Not happening. The ropes strained harder, threads snapping into the silent fog. The bridge lurched, tilting sideways. BMO screamed, clinging to Jake's fur as the wood shuddered beneath them. Marceline darted upward, floating above the swaying planks, her eyes blazing red. If it gets up here, it's not stopping at the bridge. It'll follow us forever. Finn took a shaky step forward, trying to lead them across. Then we don't give it the chance. Keep moving. Fast. But the figure in the water didn't wait. Its arms pressed harder. The wood between them bulged upward, nails popping loose one by one. With every groan, every splinter, the bridge sagged lower into the black water. And the water no longer stayed still. Ripples widened into waves, swirling in circles around the bridge, pulling inward, like the river itself was trying to swallow it whole. The friends clung to the ropes, lanterns flickering wildly. Then crack! One plank split in half, a jagged hole yawning open in the bridge. Through it, they saw the reflection's pale hand pushing through, reaching into the world of air. The plank split wide, shards of damp wood snapping free and tumbling into the black river below. Out of the jagged gap a hand emerged, long, pale, jointed in too many places. Its fingers clutched the edge of the broken wood, bending the nail-studded plank like soft clay. Finn stumbled back, his lantern's ember, flaring so brightly it painted the fog blood red. The voice inside hissed, urgent, alive. Yes, yes. Let it climb. Don't fight it. Jake's legs stretched taut, his body trembling like a bowstring. Nope, nope. This is where I draw the line. Ghost water hands are not my thing. Princess Bubblegum's lantern flickered wildly, its glow struggling against the fog. If it gets on the bridge, we won't be able to shake it off. Marceline floated closer, her fangs bared, her voice sharp. Then we don't let it climb. The hand pulled harder, wood groaning beneath its grip. A second arm stretched upward through the crack, bending at impossible angles, each joint snapping like wet branches. The bridge sagged lower. The ropes groaned. The water beneath churned in hungry spirals. BMO screamed, voice cracking into static. It's going to tip us in. Finn raised his lantern high, sweat streaking down his brow. The ember inside slammed against the glass, smoke boiling. Stop resisting. You need me. I'll carry you safe. Quiet! Finn shouted, his voice breaking. He thrust the lantern towards the reaching hand. The ember flared white-hot, light spilling across the pale fingers. The hand recoiled, smoke searing into its skin. A hiss filled the fog, sharp as steam against iron. The water rippled violently. But it didn't let go. Instead, the faceless reflection below bent farther upward, its body distorted, stretching, pressing against the underside of the bridge like a shadow trying to tear free. The ropes snapped one by one, fibers curling into the mist. The planks bowed. The whole structure dipped closer to the water. The figure was almost through. Jake wrapped his arms around Finn and BMO, stretching wide to hold them steady. We can't stay in the middle, dude. It wants this spot. We gotta run. Princess Bubblegum nodded, her lantern rattling in her hands. Forward now, before it climbs completely. Marceline's eyes burned red as she swooped above them. Go! I'll cover you! The faceless figure pressed harder, one arm clawing onto the bridge, its weight dragging the ropes lower. The friends bolted, the bridge rocking wildly beneath their steps, planks snapping behind them as the thing pulled itself upward. The cursed lantern pulsed with every heartbeat, the voice now laughing inside. Yes, yes, run. But it will always be with you. The far bank was lost in fog. The bridge sagged under the figure's weight. And behind them, the reflection finally began to rise. The bridge screamed under their weight. Planks splintered, ropes snapped. The black water below churned, sucking inward like a whirlpool, pulling the bridge down with it. Finn ran first, lantern gripped tight, its ember flaring wildly. Each step shook the structure, every plank threatening to give way. Jake stretched long behind him, carrying BMO high above his head as the wood cracked beneath his paws. Faster, bro! This thing's about to eat us! And the bridge! Princess Bubblegum kept her balance with sharp precision, her lantern flickering pink as she pressed forward. Don't stop. Just focus on the far bank. But the fog was thick. The other side was still hidden. Behind them, the figure rose higher. Its arms clutched the ropes, bending them like twine. Its faceless head lifted through the gap, taller and taller, its body unfolding from the river like a shadow peeling itself off glass. Marceline hovered low above the bridge, eyes glowing red. She bared her fangs and let out a shriek that cracked the air like thunder. The sound struck the figure, making its body twitch unnaturally, but it did not fall. Instead, it climbed faster. The bridge dipped lower into the river, the planks groaning as the water licked at their edges. Finn's lantern pulsed against his chest, the ember inside boiling with smoke. Don't run. It only wants to walk with you. Let it walk. Not happening, Finn roared, tightening his grip and charging forward. The fog thinned, and there at last the far bank appeared. Almost there, Bubblegum cried. But the figure's hand slammed onto the planks just behind them. The bridge shuddered, nearly tearing in two. Jake screamed, stretching her wide to fling BMO ahead to safety. Go, little buddy, catch him! BMO landed on the grass of the far bank, tumbling but safe. They waved frantically. Hurry! One by one, the friends leapt, scraping onto the shore as the ropes behind them snapped. Finn was last. He lunged forward, lantern blazing in his hand as the bridge tore free of the posts. The figure surged upward in a final push, its faceless head rising just behind him. The wood snapped. The ropes broke, and the entire bridge collapsed into the river. The water swallowed it whole. Silence fell again. The friends lay gasping on the bank, staring in the place where the bridge had been. The river was still, empty, as if nothing had happened. But Finn's lantern told another story. The ember pulsed slowly, steadily, and whispered, almost with a smile, "It crossed with you."